Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Jacksonville Buzz. I am your host, Adrienne Houghton. Joining me in the studio today is Matt McAllister, and he is the founder of Pride in Our Freedoms. We'll find out all about what that is. Welcome, Matt. Thank you so much for coming into the studio.
Thank you, Adrienne. It's really great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I'm fully aware that June has come and gone.
Yes.
But you did something pretty spectacular in Jacksonville that we didn't think was going to happen.
No.
So tell us a little bit, as briefly as you can, about what you did.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say it's what we did.
Yes.
I was someone who had an idea and leaned on all of my friends who leaned on their friends who leaned on their friends, and voila, we did something really spectacular. When I was on my honeymoon with my husband, and at the time that the news broke that there would be no bridge lighting or any lighting of any infrastructure this summer because of Freedom Summer, I was in Leipzig, Germany. This is an Eastern Bloc country, and so the history of this sort of Soviet occupation or communist rule is intense, and it's always present. And when you speak to people who live there, they don't shy away from this, and they remind you that they weren't attacked, that they welcomed this, that they were frustrated with the way things were going, and they thought, oh, this is an easy solution, and little did they know what that would bring. Now, I don't mean to make such an obvious comparison because these are different ideas, but the idea or the notion that we're going to celebrate freedom, and in order to do that, we're going to eliminate any choice, I found to be Orwellian, the height of Orwellian irony. Yeah. And so we just got ticked off. It's another gut punch to our community and to so many of minority communities in Florida, especially over the last few years. We just said, what if we did this ourselves, right? There's no law against doing this. Actually, there is in Jacksonville, thanks to our bit of a Nazi problem we've had the last 2 years or so. I thought, well, what if we did this ourselves, right? We don't need the government to do this for us. The LGBTQ plus community has a long history of doing things on their own when the government turned their back. The AIDS crisis being probably the greatest achievement and the greatest betrayal. So this was, in the grand scope of things, kind of a small potatoes thing to do. Let's
and just to let the viewers know, in fact, what you did was you lit a bridge.
Yes.
With the colours
of the rainbow.
And you had sponsored torches. You managed to get gels for the torches. You didn't think that you'd have enough people to actually hold all the torches, but you had twice as many.
Right.
And so after a very few days of gathering the troops, as it were, tell me about how the evening actually took place.
Well, it came together spectacularly quickly. And again, because so many of our friends called their friends. And once you get enthusiasm, there's really no limit, right? The enthusiasm was there. People were really hungry for this. So we just put it onto Facebook. People began contacting me who I had no idea who they were. They wanted their entire family to be a part of this. They wanted to be all in a line in one color. And the enthusiasm was just great. So we had our 70 flashlights here. We just ordered them off of Amazon. We got our stage gels. We cut them, 4 hours before we did it. They're not pretty, right? They're not
pretty.
But they're not,
no,
they don't need to be pretty.
Worked.
They need to be effective. And so we gathered at the Friendship Fountain, and we said, be there at 8:30. People had signs indicating what color you were going to hold, and so people knew beforehand, I'm on team green, I'm on team red. They gathered there. We took out a checklist. Each color had a team leader, so they would walk them through a real easy tutorial about this is when you're going to turn on your flashlight, this is how you're going to hold it, this is how long you're going to hold it, this is what each setting does. And everyone gathered together. We set alarms in our pockets because the bridge is very, very loud. You cannot hear the person next to you on the bridge because of the traffic.
But that's a lot of organization. You actually had to think all these things through.
Yeah, we walked down to the bridge the morning of, and we had 70 flashlights. And the first thing we needed to do was to measure the bridge, and so we could evenly space it out.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been on the Main Street Bridge, the pedestrian walkway has pylons,
Yes.
right? And luckily for us, the bridge had 69 posts, and we had 70 flashlights. So it already worked itself out. So thank goodness that made things easy. Yeah, there is a lot of logistics. I used to be a high school band director.
Oh, that explains it
Organizing large people, creating marching band shows,
Yes.
and the things you learn that, oh, I never thought of that, and that went wrong. I never thought of that, and that went wrong. It really trains you. It really does. It's the best training. If anyone wants to get something done, hire a public school teacher. They can do it effectively and on the cheap.
So I have to say, because we have to wrap up, and there's so much more to ask. What does this do for the future? What's your next project, do you think?
Well, our next project hopefully is to convince the Department of Transportation to scrap this Freedom Summer, which, as far as I can tell, we are the only group to celebrate by exercising our freedom, and return this tiny little gesture to our community. It really makes a difference for us. That would be great. I don't see that happening because there's division, and the creation of division seems to gain people power and influence. And as long as that's the case, they're not going to abandon dividing. And
maybe you need to get in and see our Mayor Deegan.
Mayor Deegan has she had the city had its first Pride celebration at City Hall, first time ever, 2024. And she mentioned this. That would be great. But what I think they did in trying to shut down the lighting of the bridges and trying to shut down public displays of diversity, they've inadvertently created a brand new tradition here. We're going to do this again next year, whether there's lights or not, because we had a great time. We brought people together, people who didn't know one another, and they celebrated and they leaned on each other. People made new friends, and that's what a community ought to be, and what it ought to do, and what we're so sorely lacking right now. And that would be a great future. That would be a success.
Matt, thank you so much for coming in and talking about it. And I wish you luck for the future, and hope it happens next year.
It will. Thank you.
And if you'd like to know any more information about Matt McAllister and Pride and Our Freedoms, you can also find it on dailynewsnetwork.com.